Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, greetings of the day and a very warm welcome to Indu's Academy of Biology and Medicine. Myself, Dr. Indumathi Somasundaram, Director of IABM, an exclusive online learning platform. As you all know, the mission of IABM is to serve quality education, which is attainable, affordable and accessible to all those whom we serve. And the vision of IABM is to make learning imperative, interesting, informative and innovative. So with this mission and vision, you all know that IABM is trying to bring in a lot of unique, wonderful, exclusive online learning platform courses at your doorsteps. As an initiative, we have completed the online biology quiz which was conducted on 5th September 2020 of all streams of biology. We divided into 5 categories and exclusively 10 awardees from each category being decided, and all participants were provided e-certificate and awards would be given shortly. So, with the success, I am glad and thankful to all the participants and all supporters of IABM. And I am also glad that this IABM, in collaboration with Colombo Cancer Center and affiliated to Federation of Asian Biotech Association, is bringing out with something called as a wonderful weekend webinar series, which means WWW series. And this weekend wonderful webinar series are going to be exclusively on specific topics. Each month we are going to start with a specific topic, and under this specific theme we would be inviting various speakers, renowned speakers from different categories of academy, industry, clinical and research background, all in a single roof for you at your doorsteps. So what exactly would happen? The students would gain a basic thorough knowledge on all these things in a single roof in this specific theme. For example, October 2020, we are going to start with a wonderful weekend webinar series on stem cell biology from bench to bedside. Right? So under this weekend webinar series of bench to bedside in stem cells, we have about 8 speakers, confirmed 8 speakers, and every weekend Saturday at your doorsteps in Zoom between 6:30 to 8:30 we would have a live session, and at the end of webinar you can ask your questions to all the speakers, and speakers would be glad to answer all the questions based on their convenient time. And not only this, you would be provided the email IDs of all speakers, and in future for any training programs, any job-oriented, career-oriented programs and job-oriented career path, you are always welcome to contact those speakers in their email IDs. So this is going to be a great venture that you are getting into for a successful career path. Apart from this, the other exciting thing of this weekend webinar series is we are going to select one best student of the weekend webinar series every week, and that particular student are entitled for the following rewards. Number 1, the particular student is going to get a letter of appreciation. Number 2, the particular student would get 50% discount or concession on any of the courses of IABM that we offer. And not only this, that particular student would be provided with a free UGC CSCR NET LS material, and we would guide them for the successful clearance of UGC CSCR NET. Certificate of course will be provided for all participants, and getting certificate, getting knowledge, yes, getting awards and rewards, and getting a chance to speak to multiple speakers at your doorsteps in a single roof with just 2 hours is all possible now with IABM weekend wonderful webinar series. And I'm so glad that as an initiative, the first month, October 2020, is dedicated for the weekend webinar series on stem cell biology, bench to bedside. So that is the reason today in this video, I am going to give you an introduction. Before every webinar theme that we post in, I'm going to give you a basic introduction about what it is and a complete picture of what are we going to do in this, and also what you will gain and what are the career prospects in that particular theme. So let's get started up, and for registrations Enquiries, please do contact me at 8788382033, WhatsApp or Telegram, and also please follow us on Instagram at IAPM Online Bio. Besides, you can also please subscribe to the same YouTube channel which you are looking into, IAPM Space Online Bio, and email us at iapmonlinebio@gmail.com. And these weekend wonderful webinar series are going to be for just ₹100 per weekend. And with just ₹100 per weekend, you would be able to get all these things as specified here. Right? So look into the description box for further details of this course and further procedures of registrations and for inquiries and so. So let's get started up with the introduction to stem cells. Right? Okay. So either you are a UG student or a PG student or a PhD students. Nowadays, the stem cells are booming. Stem cells are being treated for every single disease. So I'm sure that you all know what stem cells are. And I'm so fascinated about stem cells because I myself have done my PhD in stem cells, right? I've completed my PhD in reproductive stem cells, especially on endometrium, fallopian tube and breast milk derived stem cells. And that is the reason I'm so fascinating with stem cells, and I've been working in the field of stem cells since 12 years. So that is the reason I started the webinar series also in stem cells. So let's quickly see what stem cells are. A quick introduction to stem cells, properties of stem cells, stem cell niche and different potencies of stem cells, and what are the various applications of stem cells, and why stem cell micromastwry courses and webinar are needed. Now we have started with this. I've already spoken about the webinar. Yes. Now I would actually give you a gist about what stem cells are and what are the properties, what are its niches and what are the various applications, and finally I would also talk about career prospects of stem cells. And to end with, I would introduce the new micromastwry course, which is also starting from October, and we are starting 3 courses on micromastwry course, which is just 1 month course, and 6 to 8 hours of videos you will be learning in 1 month, mastering the subjects of 3 courses which we are starting, which is stem cell biology, cancer biology and molecular biology are the 3 micromastwry courses which we are starting from October, and that will be a 1 month course at just ₹600. Yes. So let's get started up. Stem cells. Basically you all know that stem cells are unspecialized cells. These are undifferentiated or unspecialized cells which upon trigger can become any different cells of the body, which means they are not active all the time. Unless and until there is a triggering point, unless and until there is a signal in the body, the stem cells will not be able to come out and differentiate into all cells. So when you wanted to define stem cells are undifferentiated, unspecialized, unique cells which have the ability to differentiate into various types of cells present in our body. To give an example, we all know that what is apoptosis or what is programmed cell death. We all know that every cell has a lifespan, right? And every cell will undergo programmed cell death. So what exactly happens in your body? You think. Suppose lifespan of RBC is 120 days, which is known to all of you. So imagine the lifespan of RBC is just 120 days, right? And every 120 days, the red blood cells in the body or erythrocytes in the body are going to degrade, or they are going to undergo apoptosis. So how are the new RBCs going to be produced? Here, the new RBCs are going to be produced by something called as hematopoietic stem cells, and these hematopoietic stem cells which are present in the bone marrow niche, and these hematopoietic stem cells are going to come out and differentiate into various blood cells such as RBC, WBC, platelets, and not only those, these hematopoietic cells are those which are going to help you in getting differentiated into NK cells, dendritic cells and other immune cells as well. So this is what is happening within our body. Then the process of formation of the hematopoietic stem cells to blood cells are called as hemopoiesis, which every one of you are aware of. So that is the beauty of stem cells, right? So stem cells are like very important, starting from your hair follicular stem cells to your keratin stem cells to your muscle stem cells to your liver stem cells to your cardiac stem cells to your fibroblast or skin stem cells to every single organism, especially endometrial stem cells, fallopian tube stem cells. Every single stem cells within the body are present in something called as a niche. The niche means microenvironment, and this is very important. Niche means microenvironment. What do you mean by microenvironment? It's a place where the stem cell lives. What is our niche? We stay in our home. The address where you stay, that's going to be your niche. So what is the niche of a stem cell? The niche of a stem cell is a place where those particular tissue-derived stem cells are staying. For example, the niche of hematopoietic stem cell is bone marrow, right? The niche of the muscle stem cells, which is called as satellite cells, are muscles. The niche of oval stem cells are those which are present in the liver, and these oval stem cells have the ability to give rise to a hepatocytes and give rise to a biliary epithelium. So hepatocytes are the differentiated liver cells, whereas the oval cells are the stem cells present within the liver cells. Similarly, cardiomyocytes are the differentiated cardiac muscle cells, but cardiac stem cells are those which are present within the heart, and that will produce cardiomyocytes. So this is how the stem cell, also like for example, neural stem cells are present in the subventricular zone, and these are the niches of stem cells of brain, right? So this is how, and dermal stem cells, epidermal stem cells, which are present underneath your skin. And that is why any damage that happens to the skin, immediately your skin gets regenerated, right? And a very, very important part where within the body you have a high regenerative ability within your body is called endometrial stem cells. Endometrium is the inner lining of the uterus, and we all know that uterus has 3 layers, right? Perimetrium, myometrium and endometrium. And endometrium is the innermost lining of the uterus, and during the regenerative cycle, or I can say during the menstrual cycle of women, the very important point to note that is, endometrium is the only organ which regenerates about 400 cycles of regeneration throughout the reproductive phase of a woman. And coming to spermatogolian stem cells, we all know that millions of sperms are produced because of these spermatogolian stem cells, which are present within the testicles, seminiferous tubules. So the male germ cells which are present within the seminiferous tubules of the testis is able to produce or differentiate through mitosis and meiosis to produce millions of sperm cells. So this is the beauty of stem cells. And similarly is the breast milk derived stem cells. The breast milk derived stem cells are those which are present within the regions of breast milk, which are giving rise to luminal epithelial cells and myoepithelial cells. And to additionally, to add a note to it, a very simple example is like, those who are like, all drunkards, their liver doesn't get damaged early. We would have known a very ancient early story which I wanted to mention is of Prometheus. The Prometheus, like he was, the king asked him to be arrested, and the eagle was introduced into the liver, and the eagle was asked to eat the liver. And to his surprise, the liver got completely regenerated. And since ancient days, everybody are aware about it, that something which is regenerating within the body, it's all because of one single factor which is called as stem cell. That is why we call these cells are very unique. Because this is the only cell which are undifferentiated. Any cells that you take in our body, they are somatic cells which are differentiated cells, and they have a terminal differentiation property. And they not only have a terminal differentiation property, but they also have an endpoint. They are only designed to do one specific function. But then stem cells, they are unique, they are undifferentiated, and they have the ability to both. Now coming to the properties. They have the ability to both self-renew and differentiate, which means they have the ability to self-renew, which means the stem cells can differentiate into their own stem cells as well. They can differentiate. So what exactly happens if this is going to be your stem cell, one single cell? Upon symmetric cell division, this is going to give rise both into a stem cells, and this process is called mitosis. And again, this particular stem cells will give rise to another 2 cells, and so on and so forth. And this is how the stem cells keeps differentiating. And now when we talk about asymmetric division, let's give a pause over here. Now I will introduce niche over here. Now within the niche, for example, we call that as a bone marrow. Okay. So within the bone marrow niche, if you talk about within the bone marrow, then this particular stem cell is going to undergo mitosis, and it is going to differentiate into its own cells. These are all the stem cells. Now what is going to happen? Suppose the particular RBC or the WBCs or the blood cells are depleted. They are undergoing a process. Now what will happen? This particular stem cell have to come out of the niche, because in the niche, for the self-renewal property, this particular stem cells needs a hypoxic conditions, a lot of growth factors, chemokine factors, cytokines, which we would discuss more in the micromastwry courses, correspondence courses when we talk about stem cells. And those factors are regulating, they are triggering the stem cells to maintain them into the self-renewal condition. Not only that, when they come out of the niche, these stem cells undergo asymmetric cell division. And then these stem cells, when they come out of asymmetric division, then they become a differentiated cell. But if imagine a stem cell which is going to become both differentiation into RBCs, then you will be depleted out of stem cells. So that is also not the case. That is the reason this is going to be symmetric division. Right? This is completely symmetric division which is within the niche. And when it is coming out of the niche, it is going to undergo a asymmetric division where one type of the cell will retain as stem cells and other type of cell is going to become a RBC. Right? So this is how this particular, RBC. Now this particular thing is again going to differentiate. Again this particular stem cell will be differentiated into one stem cell and one RBC. Again this is going to get differentiated into one stem cell and one RBC. So this is how the hierarchy goes. Which means when the particular stem cell comes out of the niche, they will have the ability to differentiate into one stem cell of its own and another RBC. And all the RBCs are destined to perform its own function and they become the terminally differentiated cell. So this is what is exactly happening in the niche. And when the stem cell come out of the niche and when they differentiate into one stem cell and one differentiated cell, this process is called migration, or you can call it as mobilization. And then once sufficient RBCs are produced, then the remaining stem cell will go back to its niche. And the remaining stem cells which are in the outside ambience, they are getting back to its niche. This process of getting back to the niche is called as homing. Now this is what is happening. Now let me put in one simple word, what is mobilization and what is homing. What do? We stay at home. And when we got to go for work, of course now we are doing work from home, but imagine when we got to go for work, our home is our niche. Very simple. Our home is our niche. We come out of the niche, right? Get into the office. So the target is what? Office or college or anything where you work. You complete your work. So the mobilization is nothing but you leave from home and then you go to your office or your college or your institute or your research center. Anything is your mobilization. And how are you going? Either you go by bike, or you go by car, or you go by bus, or if it's nearby, you go by walk. So the mode of transportation, that is the trigger point or the signal which is helping you, the chemokines which are helping you to reach the place. Once you completed your work, may 9 to 5, 10 to 5, whatever be your work timing, once you complete your work, you come back home. And that coming back home is called homing. So this is what is exactly happening in the niche, and this is a very important factor. If the niche fails, if the stem cell fails, doing this particular process, then is what we get a lot of pathophysiological disorders. And we will discuss more about it in either micromastwry courses or in the webinar. Now coming to the potency. In general, the potency means the ability, right? So ability, potency, the English word potency means ability. The ability of anything. So similarly, the stem cells are divided into various different branches like totipotent, pluripotent, multipotent, bipotent, unipotent and so on. So if the particular stem cell is able to give rise to an entire organism or an entire species, that is destined to be called as totipotent, like for example zygote and morula. Because we all know that when the sperm and egg fuses to form a zygote after fertilization, which is a two-cell stage, and this zygote is going to become a complete blastocyst stage, which is inner cell mass, and that will get implanted into the uterus, and inner cell mass is going to develop into ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm, the three germ layers, and then through three germ layers the entire organism appears. So that is why zygote is destined to be totipotent. And when you talk about pluripotency, the inner cell mass, the embryonic stem cells, when this is going to be your trophoblast, and this is going to be your inner cell mass, which is the blastocyst stage of the embryo, and this blastocyst stage of the embryo is called as embryonic stem cells, and it is about a complete ball or mass of structure, and the space which is filled over here is called blastocyst, right? So this embryonic stem cell is pluripotent for one reason. This embryonic stem cell is pluripotent for just one reason, that because this particular inner cell mass has the ability, without the trophoblast, it has only, this particular embryonic stem cell only has the ability to form three germ layers, which means they only have the ability either to form ectoderm or mesoderm or endoderm. Yes, They cannot give rise to a complete organism. So that is why the embryonic stem cells or the inner cell mass of the blastocyst stage of the embryo is said to be pluripotent. Now coming to all adult tissue, starting from your head stem cells till your foot, throughout your body, whatever the stem cells that is present is called the adult stem cells. All adult stem cells are destined to be multipotent. And basically this potency is based on the in vivo function and not the in vitro function, because in vitro you can isolate an adult stem cell, you can isolate a mesenchymal stem cells, and you can add growth factors and signal to it, and you can make these mesenchymal stem cells to become any ectodermal origin such as neurons, or you can make those mesenchymal stem cells into any endoderm origin, or you can make these mesenchymal stem cells into any mesodermal origin, which is possible, which is doable. So the potency is basically based on the function which is in vivo. So adult stem cells are all multipotent, but people say that, especially like embryonic stem cells, endometrial stem cells, induce pluripotent stem cells, which is again you will learn in micromastwry courses or your correspondence courses in stem cells. Induced pluripotent stem cells are those cells which are like taken from a non-pluripotent source such as skin. And Shinya Emanaka got his Nobel Prize for identification of IPS because from a non-pluripotent cell, easily you just have to reprogram. Yes, with 4 key factors of pluripotent factors such as OCT4, SOX2, KLF4 and MYC. And because KLF4 is carcinogenic, later the KLF4 was replaced by NANOC. So OCT4, SOX2, NANOC and MYC, or NANOC and Lin28. These are the factors which were reprogrammed to the skin cells, and then they were developed or reprogrammed to become an embryonic stem cells. We all know that embryonic stem cells are not being practiced in clinical trial because of many reasons, like they have a teratoma formation, which means tumor inducing property, and they have rejection because embryonic stem cells, when they are injected into human body, rejection is a major factor. And not only rejection, apart from rejection, they also have ethical issues because the embryo in vitro fertilization laboratories, and now in India, embryonic stem cell research for clinical trials is banned. It's being only used for in vitro fertilization techniques, or it can use it for research. But in abroad, yes. In some places, embryonic stem cell research and clinical trials are also into practice. But in many places, if you browse into induced pluripotent stem cells and therapy, you can understand that in many places, induced pluripotent stem cells are also being used under clinical trial. So to understand what are the different applications of stem cells, how the stem cells are being treated, please get into ncbi.nlm.nih.gov. That is a clinical trial center, ncbi.nih.nlm.gov. This is National Center for Biotechnology Information, which is maintaining all those databases. You just have to put Indian clinical trial or ncbi.nlm.nih.gov clinical trial for stem cells. You can understand there are a lot of clinical trials being happening through cord blood stem cells. A lot of clinical trials being used for bone marrow stem cells. Basically, bone marrow stem cells has been the conventional source of stem cells for which all different hematological malignancies, starting from leukemia to other genetic disorders, is being given. And for spinal cord injury, liver disorders. Because bone marrow stem cells, like for the patient who is having some diseases, it is called as autologous stem cell transplantation. You take the bone marrow from any of these bone marrow regions. Basically they'll take from the femur side, and then you take the bone marrow blood, process it, and then isolate the stem cells from it, and then reinfuse into the patient's body. So it's being used for treating spinal cord injuries, it's being used for treating liver diseases, for muscular dystrophy, and it's also being used for treating many motor neuron diseases, leukemia and so on. And then later on, many different stem cell explorations started in the last few decades, like adipose stem cells, endometrial stem cells, and cord blood stem cells. Cord blood banking, we are also going to talk in the webinar about cord blood banking. Yes, cord blood banking is very important. Cord blood is being preserved, and cord blood banking is being used for various diseases such as cystic fibrosis. It's being used for cerebral palsy. It is being used for leukemia. It's being used for any genetic disorders. It's being used for thalassemia, sickle cell anemia, and so on and so forth. Cord blood stem cells are being into practice. So basically the applications are these. And apart from that, when you talk about, every coin has two sides, right? Till now I've been talking only about good of stem cells, but stem cells are bad as well. Why stem cells are bad? Because anything happens in the body with reference to stem cell, then you're going to get disease. So what exactly will happen? The mutations which are into the stem cells are going to give a lot of degenerative diseases. Like for example, if endometrial stem cells are not able to regenerate your actual endometrium, then we have problem. If we fallopian tube stem cells, liver stem cells, your hematopoietic stem cell goes wrong, then that is the reason it causes leukemia. So what people are doing now, they are trying to understand the good and bad aspects of stem cells. which means they are trying to understand how stem cell is playing an important role in regeneration and for treating various diseases like vascular diseases, spinal cord injury, liver cirrhosis, and so on and so forth. At the same time, they are also trying to study stem cells, how when stem cells goes awry, which means how the stem cell get degenerated, how these stem cells are causing different diseases in the body. So targeting the defective stem cell for treating diseases, and that important thing is called cancer stem cells. Any cancer, earlier people used to give the stochastic theory or the conventional therapy like chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and then what happens? Very simple. Samjho, like these are all your cancer cells which have developed. Okay, and here is actual culprit which is called as your cancer stem cell. So basically what happens when these all culprits are cancer cells, your chemotherapy, radiotherapy, all targets are going to kill all this. Now what is that is left is your cancer stem cell, right? What is that is left is your cancer stem cell. Now this cancer stem cell is going to develop later into more of cancer stem cells, and these cancer stem cells are going to differentiate into cancer cells. And so this cancer stem cells will again cause a relapse. And because of causing relapse, the cancer stem cells are going to differentiate into different cancer cells. They're going to cause a lot of mutations, signaling pathways goes corrected, blah blah everything. And here I'm just going to give you a gist. Once again, in micromastery courses and in webinar, we are going to have 2 sessions which is exclusively on cancer stem cells. So you will definitely understand the mechanism of cancer stem cells, cancer metastasis, how angiogenesis and cancer stem cells are playing a very important role, and what are the different markers of cancer stem cells, and so on and so forth, which is a very, very important update that we need to have whether you are in any streams about stem cells, about cancer stem cells, because I'm sure that you being into any PG courses, definitely at least in one paper, in one unit, every one of you have something related to stem cells. And due to the importance of stem cells is why many universities have started master program in stem cell and regenerative medicine, master programs in medical biotechnology where stem cell is included as a paper. So this is how we study the stem cell as a double-edged sword. Why stem cells are double-edged sword? On one side, it is favoring to differentiate into any type of a cell. But on the other side, this is becoming the culprit to cause all degenerative diseases and pathophysiological conditions. So all over the scientists, they are working in terms of academy by teaching and giving knowledge about stem cells. In research, they are looking into either positive aspects of stem cells for treating various diseases or the negative aspects of stem cells of finding problem, how the stem cells are causing different diseases. They are trying to find how stem cells are causing diseases, and when you target stem cells like cancer stem cells, how the diseases can be reverted or it can be cured. Yes. And also when you talk about banking industry, stem cell is used as a model to study different drugs. Like the stem cells can be differentiated into any cell, so they use it as a model to study different drugs, toxicity testing, and also stem cell banking. There are a lot of opportunities for students to work in stem cell banking, cord blood banking. Like how the blood banking is there. That is how the cord blood banking. Now cord blood banking industries are so much. Please just browse cord blood banking. And in India, just imagine how many cord blood banking sectors, both private and government organizations, non-profit organizations and private organizations, many cord blood bankings are there. At the same time, you also get an opportunity into the hospital side, and not only that, you also get an opportunity in biotech and pharmaceutical company industries where stem cell also plays a very important role. Yes, so the opportunities in stem cells for the students are in n numbers. You can get into academics, you can get into research, you can get into industry, you can get into pharma, you can get into biotech companies, you can get into healthcare sectors, you can get into government organizations, you can get into private organizations, and so on and so forth. This is all an introduction only, and you are going to learn in detail in your webinar as well in the micromastery course about beauty and magic of stem cells. So micromastery course is just 1 month course where we'll be dealing in detail about every theme what we are doing into the webinar, right? So with this I'm signing off. Hope it's interesting. I request all of you to please leave your comments on which topic you want me to give such a very just introduction in our YouTube channel. I'll be happy to give a 15 to 20 minutes complete gist of any specific topic that you would like to listen to. And all the very best. Please contact us and kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel. Contact us in the given email ID and the phone number for further queries and registrations to all courses, webinars and correspondence and postgraduate diploma courses as well. So for now, I'm signing off, but see you soon with the most exciting, interesting video or the lecture. All the very best. Thank you for your patient listening. See you. Good evening. Bye-bye.